I'm really excited to tell you that we have another speaker today, and leave it to Kelly, our Childproof America leader here, to charge us through with such powerful speakers and content. The last little bit is incredible. Save your questions. We will have those as we end up as well. I want to tell you now that there's the ABCs of anti-trafficking that I started, and I speak on this and give presentations on it, not knowing at the time that our guest speaker has a form of that as well. So on the ABCs of anti-trafficking, it's become aware, become engaged, and if you see something, say something. I'd like to say that I not knowingly stole it from our Homeland Security Advisor, Mr. Mick McKeown, and I am so excited you're here to tell us more about what's going on with Homeland Security and the Blue campaign. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. How's everyone? Can you hear me? Okay. So my name is Mick McKeown, and I have one of the longest titles in the federal government. I am the Executive Director of the Homeland Security Advisory Council and Campaign Office. So, yeah, right? The paycheck doesn't match with the title, but it would be nice if it did. So, what do? My job is to run the Advisory Council for Secretary Nielsen, and then I also run her priority campaigns. They are the If You See Something, Say Something campaign, the Be Cyber Smart campaign for cybersecurity, and the Blue campaign, which is our human trafficking or anti-human trafficking campaign. We are against human trafficking. And so I want to just kind of go into what we do within the Blue campaign. Now, for those of you who are wondering why we're called the Blue campaign, it's two reasons. One, it's a hat tip to law enforcement. Thank you for your service. And then it's also the color internationally recognized for raising awareness. And when we took over this office, we did Wear Blue Day. And it's in January, because January is Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month. And the last year we did Wear Blue Day for the very first time. And we didn't have a Twitter page. We had like one Facebook group. And we were able to get through that 4 million impressions, which was a pretty good deal. Yeah, everyone's like, yeah, it's pretty good. So then I came in and when you get your bell rung on human trafficking, yourself never stays the same. You're sitting here, and this is the first time you're hearing a lot of the information being given to you, and you're seeing what's happening, how people are exploiting, our children especially. You're never going to sit still again. So when we were able to work with this, I refused to accept no from anyone on what an answer may be to working with us on Wear Blue Day. So there was only two options, was if you were going to either be a part of it or we were going to guilt you into being part of it. So if any of you watch Fox News, there's a reporter named Ed Henry, and he posted a picture of himself going to work, and we tweeted at him, "It's Wear Blue Day, where's your tie?" He then tweeted another photo back to us at him and Brooks Brothers buying the blue tie. So when he went on air, he would be wearing Wear Blue Day. We got Wear Blue Day done, and we went from 4 million to 49 million. We were able to trend on Twitter. We were able to start a conversation from when the sun rose on the United States to when it set in the United States and Guam. And we had every single hour, we had someone somewhere saying something, raising awareness. And I was willing to do anything. They lit a bridge blue in Boston and Los Angeles. They made the city hall blue. And we had people from all over. And then all the, Homeland Security, while the focus is protecting the homeland, you also protect the homeland abroad. And we have Homeland Security agents, in Thailand, in Canada, all over the country. And many of those groups, once again, got involved to help us spread this message. And I know that, Benji, your intensity up here was pretty contagious, and I appreciate it. And if my staff was here, that's kind of how I run one of our, staff meetings on, what are we doing? We have to keep our foot on the gas all the time. And one of the things that we really focused in on here is, how do we get a message? We're the federal government. How do we get a message across in today's day and age? Just to get an idea, I can do one of two things, and we're going to just kind of do a vote here. I can give you the government briefing, or I can tell you a story. So who would prefer the government briefing? Okay, we're gonna go to a voice vote. I'm gonna feel like I'm in Congress right now. We're gonna go voice vote. So okay, so I'm gonna go the story route. I have two stories for you. First story is that when we were sitting down trying to figure out how to get our message across, because it is a noisy world out there, and it is hard to grab people's attention. And what are we saying that's worth following? What are we saying that's worth stopping for? And how much time do we have to really engage? And one of the things that I always kind of thought, for all the government advertising out there, there's only two ads that I remember. And one is the milk mustache ad, which is not necessarily appropriate for human trafficking. And then the other one is the drugs ad. Remember? Here's the frying pan. This is the eggs. This is your brain on drugs. What are you going to do? And I couldn't do that. I couldn't look in the face and say, that's going to be my creative outlet and that's how I'm going to get this story across. Because there is something to be said. Everything that we do at the Blue Campaign, everything we do in Homeland Security, and everything we do in the federal government is focused on one thing, and that is a victim-centered approach. And so when you're doing a victim-centered approach, you're going to make sure that you're able to tell an authentic story with that narrative that kind of has a resonation. And one of the things that we do by doing that is get survivor input. So we sit down with survivors. We listen to their stories. And while we might not be able to tell the story exactly as it happened to them, we can, just like Law and Order does, take that story and make it our own. And we were able to do that. And so we did a public service announcement called the Neighborhood Watch. And if you have an opportunity, please Google it. But we released it, and it was a 60-second ad. And we released it, and usually our ads perform in the top 10 or 15% across the country, which is absolutely fantastic. But we did this one, we really went all out. We had a survivor come on set with us. And when we came on set, we took all of her back piece stories, everything that happened to her. Now, how many mothers do we have in the room? Okay, so then you're really going to resonate with the story. So this mother, without getting into the total details to respect her privacy, she ends up getting taken to a home with her 3 children. And then her 3 children will be taken out of the house every morning to be labor trafficked. And I don't know what happened to her while she was in that house, nor would I have asked. And when we were walking through the set, you could see this vivacious woman just turn, because we were so accurate with our description and so true to what she told us. And we're going through the entirety of the set and how the story will play out in the 60-second commercial, and we're almost done. And I'm going to just pause here for 1 second to give you a little bit of a sidebar about me, because besides talking about the Blue Campaign, I do like to talk about myself. Prior to coming to DC, if you're wondering where I acquired this lovely accent, it's unfortunate from my upbringing in Philadelphia. And growing up in Philadelphia, I was one of 3, but I had like 17 first cousins. I lived with my grandmother. We had a postage stamp for a backyard. You guys have a lot of space out here in Texas. And one of my jobs was to be the HR guy. So my very first gig was I worked in a human resources department, and I would tell people, you know what, you don't like this job, the door doesn't lock from the inside, feel free to go. 2 people took me up on that. So then I come in, and I'm standing in front of this door, and she just looks at me, and she goes, Mick, the door locks from the inside. We got to switch the lock. He didn't care who got in. He just wanted to make sure you didn't get out. And some line that I said as a smart aleck kid, when I was like 22 years old, really came back to bite me. And it's something that really hits you when you're saying, wow, that's something I said on a pretty regular basis. And here she is, and she's saying, no, that door locks from the inside. And we changed it. And when we we got nominated for an award for it, and one of the things that went in the award that came out, they said was that in the storyline, when the trafficker unlocks the door from the inside, it was jarring to those who were watching it because they never heard or saw something like that. And when we sent it out to the survivor community, the feedback we got on that 5 seconds was so powerful. And that's where it was just so important that you have that survivor input, so you have that sense of authenticity, so you can actually tell a story that hits with people. Because the idea is that, you know what, you want to make sure that there's the truth there, because if you don't have that truth, then it's not going to last. And one of the things that I thought was so crazy as we were doing this filming, and she's sitting next to me, she said that one of the things the trafficker would do would play a mind game with her. He would leave the door unlocked sometimes to see if she would leave. But what mother's going to leave without her children? You know, I've come across a lot of people in my line of work. I've yet to come across to a mother who's going to abandon her children. You know, so she was there every day, and she knew that she could go, but her kids wouldn't be there. So thankfully, she was able to get out of that situation, tell that story, and for us, it was so important to be able to tell that story and let it live, you know, to have people understand that sometimes this isn't just a scenario where you can easily walk away from. Or even if you have the ability, there's going to be that pull back. Because it's one of those things where, you know, one of the recurring themes you're going to hear about this throughout the entire day is like, how do you tell someone, like love just plays a part in here and with these emotions and everything else. So it's such a different aspect of it. And then the other story I kind of want to tell you right now is, you know, kind of focused on, like I said, my second favorite subject, me. So I'm an Irish Catholic kid from Northeast Philadelphia. You all might call them townhomes down here. We call them row homes. You know, we're very basic people. And so, like, you have like 36 houses on each side of the block. And, you know, pretty much our entire family revolved around that Sunday dinner. So I lived with my grandparents and my parents, which I never thought was weird until I moved out of Philadelphia, and that just isn't as common of occurrence as you think, except in sitcoms. But my grandmom was the matriarch. So we had 17 first cousins around the stop sign, and everyone would come over for Sunday dinner. And Sunday dinner was the big event. It was like Thanksgiving every week, and it was amazing. And it was also like before social media. It was just called being social. And you would sit down and you would talk. And the thing would be, like, the conversation, the pre-dinner conversation was the best, because who was going to be Eileen's date for Sunday dinner? Was Grandma going to like the new boy? Like, what was going on? Who bought this house? What was happening? What was going on? And it was super exciting. Fast forward. Eventually, my mother becomes the matriarch. I move out of the house, not as fast as she wanted me to, but I eventually moved out of the house. And I had the awesome opportunity to bring my daughter to that same Sunday dinner. And there's nothing cooler to feel than to be able to share that little piece of yourself with your child. And the coolest part of it was that I actually didn't live in the city. I moved out to the county, which is a very big deal. So on my drive, I would stop at Street Road and Mechanicsville Road at a red light, and I caught this red light every single Sunday. It doesn't matter what time of day I left, I caught that red light. And there was that house. And the weeds were just a little too long, and it had that foreboding sense. But you never did anything, because it's funny. We have this weird thing that happens to us. There are moments that give us pause in our daily life that we don't act on. Instead, we just kind of put them into the back. But those moments are the moments that can make the difference. We need to empower ourselves on those little moments and ask ourselves why, because that why can really change the direction of something. So for years, people felt something but didn't say something. And that's kind of rough. So where I grew up in Pennsylvania, one of the groups that would really help us with whether it's food or craftsmanship was the Amish. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They don't believe in technology. It's a religious thing, but they make really good roast beef and really nice furniture. So this Amish family there's a whole other industry of people helping the Amish out, getting them to market, doing all these things, taking advantage of, hey, you're using a horse and buggy, you can load up my truck, things of that nature. So this family is going to lose their farm. And one of the men that they've come to trust offers them $40,000 to save the family farm. But no one really gives you $40,000 without some type of collateral for a loan. The collateral for the loan was not one, not two, not three, but all four of their daughters. And they all resided in that little house in that corner. So for $40,000, the family did save the farm, but they also lost the family for generations, as their grandchildren were part of what their trafficker was. And a neighborhood was never quite the same, because for someone they just thought was the neighborhood oddity, had a whole different lifestyle than they ever did. So whenever you talk to anyone up here, there's going to be that one case that rings your bell, and it's going to be that's the case for me. That's the case of me looking out of my driver's side window, seeing it, and not saying anything. So that when I was given the opportunity to take over the Blue campaign and also to run the If You See Something, Say Something campaign, you know that I was giving it everything I have, because I owed it to those little girls, I owed it to the community that I served, and I owed it to the nation to make sure that we are always going to be protected. Now, I really want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve and help you all with this. So I just want to give you a couple more little things. If you want to get any type of awareness material, please go visit us at www.dhs.gov/bluecampaign. Follow us on Twitter. We're also on Facebook, once again, Blue Campaign. And just know that the federal government is working on this topic with such vigor and zeal